Hey everyone, it's Catherine at Resinobsession, and I'm here today live in the studio to craft some resin Halloween charms. This is a little bit of an impromptu thing. Just to give you a little background, I have this really weird quirk about me that I can't go anywhere near a craft store without going in, right? I mean, who can? So the totally crazy thing that I do is I always head over to the sale section and pretend like I'm on one of those cooking shows and I have a certain set of ingredients I have to work with to make a dish. So I always head to the sale section of the craft store, and I'm determined to find something to help me make a resin charm, or I have to incorporate something into my resin stuff. So imagine my joy this week when I found several silicone baking molds. These are designed for candies, but they can also work for resin. So there are 4 different designs, and I'm pretty anxious to try them out. And I thought maybe you guys would want to join me while I do this today. While we're waiting for some people to arrive, I'll just give you a few of my comments about using these. These are cheap. You can see that basically the silicone is pressed. So it's not poured silicone, but it's silicone that's formed around the templates. I think these are a great way for you to get started with silicone molds and to practice some of your resin casting. I will tell you, it's been my experience that these don't last as long as silicone molds. I'll use them here for Halloween this week, here the next few days. It is unlikely that they will make them to next Halloween, but I only paid, I think, $1.79 a piece for them in the sale bin. So, if I only get a chance to use them this week, it's no big deal. I think regular price, they were $7, $8, $9 or something like that. So what I have not shown you today before I use these is that I did spray them with a light mist of mold release. This is my go-to mold release, and that's the Petrolise mold release. A light mist, just kind of like that, just something that doesn't saturate the mold, but just gives it a light coating. It is an aerosol product, so if you're going to use this, be sure and do it outside. Now, I know some of you are probably asking, well, why would you even need to use a mold release if it's silicone? Shouldn't it be non-stick already? And yes, you're right, with a little asterisk. The first thing is that in order for it to be non-stick, your resin has to cure. So if you've done everything right and your resin cures, it's going to pop out and be fine. If you've done something wrong, though, and your resin is a goopy mess, it might be the only way you get them out is because you put some mold release on there. The second thing is that mold release is really good at helping to prolong the life of your molds. So you will get little tiny micro tears in your silicone molds. That can be minimized by using mold release, even on these. So it's a good habit to get into. I will tell you, the Petrolise mold release is the mold release that I also use on my plastic mold casting. So, well, before we get started, I would love to say hi to everyone. I see a note here from Erica as well that she loves going craft store crazy too. Right, do you not just, you go in and you got to see what they got. So anybody else is welcome to take my philosophy of hit the sale bin and challenge yourself to find something that you can use in your next resin project. So I'm going to go ahead and take the camera and turn it down so you can see a little more about what I'm doing. I'm happy to answer your questions. Just give me a little time. I'm going to be mixing and pouring, and I'll have to kind of peek up under to see what's going on the phone. But by all means, jump right in. So let me get this turned down so you guys can see. Let's get it a little closer. And you may notice, oh gosh, I hope nobody's getting car sick. You may notice that I'm actually back in my studio, which is totally awesome. I'm really happy to be back and get a chance to work on my space versus I had to do a little bit of stuff outside. But it's still great outside in Florida right now, so there's no concerns there, but I'm happy to be back. So this is the mold I'm going to start with today, and I'm going to work with one of our quick curing polyurethane resins. That way, perhaps by the time we're done talking today, I might have some stuff I can pop out and show you. Maybe, maybe not. For those of you who have not tried a quick curing polyurethane resin. These usually cure within about 10 to 15 minutes. They are not what I would recommend for beginners because that they cure so quickly. You need to be ready to mix and pour the amount of resin that you can use comfortably in a couple of minutes. So it's not something for beginners. Two-part resins. You can get our quick curing polyurethane resin on Resinobsession.com. It's the Alumalite Amazing Casting Resin. You should also know that that resin cures opaque white, which is going to be perfect for my skeleton today. So to give you guys a little perspective, you can see how thick these cavities are. They're at least a ½ inch, if not more. You don't have to fill them up with resin. I know I'm not going to, but it's just to kind of give you some reference when I don't fill the cavities all the way full. I think these were designed for chocolates or something like that. So anybody have any questions while I'm getting ready to pour? Okay. Another piece of advice, when you're doing resin, open one bottle, pour, put the cap back on, and then do the other one. That way you don't accidentally close your bottle shut. I do use graduated mixing cups whenever I mix resin. I'm really fussy and particular about that. I know there's other crafters out there that will use teaspoons and make marks on cups, and I realize that that works fine for them. It just, I find I get the best results when I do it like this. So I know you can't see me, but I'm measuring each one of these parts to the 3 dram mark. I'm actually down at eye level when I'm doing that. All right, so I'm going to pour the 2 parts together. I need to have this good and mixed in about a minute and a half. So let's buckle in and get ready. So for anybody watching, have you guys had a chance to work with a quick curing polyurethane? Have you tried it? Been afraid to try it? Not sure what to think? I think in general, you know, it's pretty helpful to know that they do, in addition to them curing quickly, they do cure pretty hard. So I think they're great for small scale crafts like figurines and small toys and that kind of thing. Jewelry, maybe not so much, just because, you know, most people are working with bezels or they're working with other molds and that kind of thing, and so it's hard to work that quickly. You know, for me here today, I'm probably doing it just, you know, so hopefully that this can cure quickly and I can show you guys what things will look like here in a little bit, assuming we're still on. I will also tell you that you can color this, but you have to use colorants specifically designed for polyurethanes. Polyurethanes are really crabby about powders and colors and that kind of thing because they hate moisture. And so when you're working with these, you really have to be careful that you use stuff that's specifically designed for them. Now I can already start to feel the cup warm up, so I need to be finishing up. It's starting to gel a little. So I'm working quickly to try and get everything scraped and poured into my cup. So I'm going to go ahead and just start pouring. This, I want a couple of bones. You can see I'm not filling everything up completely full. And we'll put a little more on the skull. So perhaps you guys can watch and it'll cure and turn colors right in front of you. So I see a question from Terry, or Terry's joining in. Hi, Terry. You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. Terry's thanking me for joining, or for doing this, and she's also got a message for hugs to Tommy. Tommy is actually, he's outside right at the moment. He's enjoying the nice weather in Florida too. For those of you who don't know, Tommy is our outdoor studio kitty who showed up one day, and he's this dusty orange kitty, and he's quite chatty. And when I was doing some outdoor videos here for a little bit while my kitchen was being remodeled and I had to use my studio kitchen, Tommy would join in kind of towards the end of the videos, or he would be there kind of in the background. So he enjoyed himself. So I don't know if you guys can see this from where you are, but it's just starting to get a little cloudy, which lets me know that things are curing. So I'm going to go ahead and just push this off to the side. You guys are welcome to watch. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of super clear resin and just maybe pour it into one of the bat molds, or pour it into the bat mold. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys got while I'm getting all this together. I will tell you in general, with my mixing cups, usually with the polyurethane, I just go ahead and resolve myself that I'm not going to get these cleaned out before it cures. So I just usually go ahead and toss them. But if you're working with an epoxy, you can reuse these cups. Wipe them out with a little acetone, wash it then with a good detergent, let them dry, and you can reuse them. But for polyurethanes, I just usually let it go. The quick cure stuff anyways. So while we're doing this, where's everybody from? Oh, you can see we're starting to turn white. That's pretty cool. All right. Looks like, do we have anybody from outside the U.S. today joining us? Oh, I see we have Nicole. Oh, Nicole's watching stuff cure. Oh yeah, isn't this cool? You could like totally just like watch. It's like, you know, I don't even have to speed up the video because this is just, it's doing what it's doing. So for my bats, I'm going to go ahead and just mix up some super clear resin. Let me put this off to the side a little bit. And yeah, we'll just, let me see. If you haven't used the super clear resin before, this is the Resinobsession super clear resin. It's a 2-part resin, but it mixes 2-part resin, 1-part hardener. It's a clear resin. It's going to take longer than the 10 to 15 minutes to cure. You know, usually you can get a really hard cure in about 12 hours, maybe 24 if your room is cold. And I'm just going to mix some of that up with some glitter to do some glitter bats. So, oh, hey, Carol in the UK. Thanks for joining us. It's like dinner time over there, isn't it? I never know about these time zone changes. So I'm doing 2 drams of hardener, and then I'll do 4 drams of the resin. Oh, we're curing. Isn't that cool? I'm going to go ahead and pour out some more resin. Does anyone have any specific questions about what I'm doing here today? Anybody else making Halloween resin charms this weekend? Oh. Okay, so let's see. Terry has a question. Is your resin book available for my Halloween birthday? So my book, for those of you who don't know, I wrote a book a couple years ago called Resin Jewelry Making. And the book is available either at resinobsession.com. You can download a copy there by going to our book section on the left. Or you could also purchase it through the Amazon or Barnes & Noble online bookstores. It is currently only available as a downloadable book. So if you purchase it from Resinobsession, it comes to you as a PDF ebook. If you want, you know, the Kindle version or the version for your Nook, then I would suggest going to either Amazon or Barnes & Noble accordingly. But if you're okay with just reading it as a PDF, you can get it on resinobsession.com. So I totally get that you're watching the football game, Terry. Totally enjoy. It'll be there later. So, all right. So I see a couple other people joining us. So just to bring you up to speed, in case you haven't joined us, or if you're just joining in, I'm here my name's Catherine, and I'm the chief resinista, I suppose, at Resinobsession, and I'm just casting some Halloween charms this weekend. What I used just a few minutes ago was one of our quick cure polyurethane resins in this silicone mold I found in the sale bin at the craft store. And what I'm doing right now is I'm mixing up some of the Resinobsession super clear resin to use in the silicone bat mold I also got that same trip. So I'm going to go ahead and mix the resin and get it poured, and maybe by that time we'll be ready to demold the other ones. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Terry. Okay. Glad I can help you about the book. So have any of you watching ever tried quick cure polyurethane resins, either colored or clear? You can purchase them in a clear formula. We don't sell them. They generally have a really short shelf life. And so while I would very much like to provide them to our customers, I don't think it's in your best interest to carry them, because I'm totally afraid that by the time you would get them, you just wouldn't have the success that you would want in the clear formula. The opaque formula tends to be a little more forgiving in that respect. All right, so I'm mixing both parts of the super clear resin. And you'll notice that while I'm doing it, I'm also scraping the sides of my cup. And I'm trying to be very careful to mix so that I don't introduce any bubbles. I know a lot of you have trouble with bubbles. Who doesn't have bubble trouble when it comes to resin? The best advice I can give you about bubbles in resin is to mix your resin carefully to avoid them altogether. Now I realize, of course, you're going to get some bubbles. It's just the nature of how it works. But when you're mixing your resin, be very deliberate. You're not whisking an egg. You know, you're not making a meringue icing and trying to whip something. You're making whipped cream. Mix and be deliberate, but don't whip air into your resin. So you can see I'm mixing the two parts together, and it's getting less swirly and less cloudy. So I'm mixing everything together. You also want to make sure too with this resin, as well as with any resin, you want to mix thoroughly. Make sure you scrape the sides of your cup. Mix, you know, I'm making a point now to kind of go across the bottom of my cup, and then also scrape off your stir utensil and do that. So let's mix a little more. So in the meantime, I'm taking a look here too at our skeleton, and it looks like it's cured pretty well. So hopefully by the time I can get this poured, we can demold the other and see how it looks. So while I'm doing this, what would you guys, if you walked into a craft store and you looked in the sale bin, what would be like your total, like, oh my gosh, I have to have that? You know, for me, it's these, you know, cheap food grade silicone molds. So I generally will get them. Just, it's fun. You know, it's fun. I can make some Halloween charms this weekend. And if that doesn't turn out, I'm not out a lot of money. You know, might be a little time, but it's still fun. What would you guys hope to find? So Terry's making a comment about the bubbles. Bubble, bubble, toil, and trouble. Isn't that the truth? So on more than one way when we're casting resin. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do with these bats yet. I thought I would maybe do them for earrings. They're a little big for earrings. Like you'd almost have to turn them on their side, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but then it looks like maybe the bat has rabies or something and he can't fly straight. So, because they're a little wide to maybe hang from your ears. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with them yet. I think they would be cool, like maybe as a zipper pull or something, you know, on a Halloween costume. Of course, you know, you can always put magnets on the back, turn them into something like that. Okay, so I think my resin is good. And you may be wondering, you know, my gosh, isn't it taking her a long time to mix her resin? You know, I am very particular and very fussy about making sure that the resin is mixed thoroughly. You know, an extra minute or two, you know, assuming your pot time will allow it, will really save you some time and aggravation later. You know, when you go to demold it, you really want to make sure your stuff's not sticky. Okay, so I'm going to put in a little glitter, because glitter makes everything better, right? And we can always add more later. I like to use really fine glitter. The finer the glitter, the less likely it will be to sink into your pieces. We do sell several different kinds of glitter. If you're also having problems with your glitter sinking, then I would suggest trying the Stampendous Micro Glitter. We have it in the colorant section on Resinobsession.com. It does really well and does not sink. Otherwise, if you've had problems with glitter sinking, and you want to make sure it doesn't stink, then, or stink, yeah, that too. But if you want to make sure it doesn't sink, then wait till your resin starts to partially cure. Come back and put the resin on the back, and that'll keep it in that layer. So let me pour these in, and then we'll see about demolding our other stuff. So just like the, oh gosh, I'm making a mess. Isn't that awful? Look at that. Just like, see, I make messes too. This isn't, right? I know you guys tell me I make it look easy, but I make messes too. So, oh gosh, now I lost my train of thought. Oh, so just like the other mold, this one's probably about 1/2 inch deep. I don't want bats quite that thick, so I'm not taking it all the way to the top. So unfortunately, we won't get to see these cure before your eyes, but I'll see if I can't show you what I ended up doing with them a little, you know, sometime later this week, and give you guys some of my thoughts. So, okay. All right. So I'm not going to show you here, but obviously when you're doing your resin stuff at home, cover it once you're done to just make sure that the dirt and dust and stuff that's floating around in the air doesn't settle on your pieces later. Cat hair. Anybody else have problems with cat hair? You know, love kitties but hate the cat hair. So Gretchen was wondering if we sell these molds. Unfortunately, Gretchen, we do not sell these molds. These molds came from the sale bin at the craft store. I just got them a couple days ago. You know, I guess Halloween is almost over, and so they're trying to unload the rest of their Halloween merchandise, and so that's where they came from. We do have other Halloween molds and other themes and all that on our website, but unfortunately we do not have these. All right, so let me pull this out of the way for a minute, and let's see if we can't demold these. So I'm a little curious. So they're still warm, just a little bit. Nothing that's burning my finger or anything, just, but they're hard. So you can see. Okay, so let's pop these out. Okay, we got one bone. We got 2 bones. Oh, I guess you guys can't see me doing this. And I'm peeling it off of here. And we got a skull. So, that turned out pretty cool, yeah? I don't know if you guys can tell here. Let me clean up my mess for a minute. know if you guys can tell, but they finished with a matte finish. Does not bother me a bit. I like it, but that's something I forgot to mention. Generally, when you use these molds that were originally intended for candy, your stuff will finish with a matte finish. So at this point, the way to shine it up, if these were epoxy, one of the easy ways you could do it would be to coat it with another layer of resin. That would give it a shiny finish. I don't generally recommend it for polyurethane castings. However, you can use a layer of our resin gloss sealer spray to go over it and give it a glossy finish. I have not done that with these polyurethane type castings. I would make sure it's cool first. This piece is still warm, just kind of body temperature warm. So I just want to make sure it's completely done curing so it doesn't do anything with the acrylic spray. But the matte finish doesn't bother me. And at this point, I don't know if I would go in maybe with a little bit of acrylic paint, maybe to highlight these. I don't know. I might just leave it the way it is. I think it looks kind of cool. Definitely would probably do these for some earrings and maybe this one for a pendant. But you can see the other thing I'll make you aware of as well. This generally happens with molds that the cavity isn't completely filled, and that is the resin it rides up the side of the cavity. It's just, whatever the physics of it is, I can't necessarily explain it. It has to deal with the surface tension and all that. So the reason I make you aware of it is the edge back here is just a little sharp. So you just want to kind of take it down with a little bit of sandpaper or something just to flatten it out, make sure it doesn't, irritate somebody when they're wearing it or possibly get sharp or anything like that. So just something to kind of be aware of. And it did it on this one too. And that's just a resin thing. It'll do it on these bat pieces that I cast as well. So let's see. Great. Well, thank you, Holland. Holland made a comment that she thought they looked nice. I got to tell you, I kind of like them too. So, all right. So any questions before we head out here today? I'll be sure to post some pictures of the bats, and then I got to figure out what I'm going to do for the pumpkins. I got some ideas there. And then we got some witches hats and brooms. Looks like witches boots and cauldron. I haven't figured out, these are going to be big, so I haven't really figured out what I'm going to do here yet, but I'll think of something neat. So any questions before we head out today? Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining me. I hope you can join us again. Be sure to fan our page if you haven't already. I don't know how you found this, but if you can fan our page, that way you'll get notified when we're doing another event or doing another live casting. If you haven't already, you can also follow us on Pinterest and Instagram. So that way we can share some cool tutorials with you and pictures of what we're doing here in the studio. And last but not least, if you head over to resinobsession.com, we do have an email list. We try and let people know what we're up to and share useful information to help you with your resin stuff. And we share coupons and all that to our besties. And by the way, if you haven't been on Resin Obsession recently, just hint, hint, you might want to stop sometime next week because we're getting ready to do our once a year Seconds and Imperfect mold sale. So that's always a big blast of fun. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining me today. All right. And if you're watching this later and you have more questions, just leave them in the comment box below and I'll be happy to get with you. All right. Thanks everyone. We'll see ya.